All right, good morning, everyone. Excuse me. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the morning brief. It is Tuesday, July 14th. All right, today, no real updates on the podcast. Did not get an episode out yesterday, and I took a hit on the numbers there. So, not much movement from yesterday. So, that's the priority for today is get a good episode out and move on from there. All right, for our standard objectives today, we're going to do grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. Today, we're going to talk about bank stocks, which you can either classify those as growing or protecting your money because they are big staples of our society. Obviously, they're not going anywhere in anytime soon. And then a couple of them had earnings out this morning that we'll talk about, and that's why that is going to be the long-term investor topic of the day. And we're also going to talk about conference calls. So we talked about earnings and what goes into earnings yesterday. Today, we're going to talk about the second piece of that is where the conference call where the CFO and CEO go live and basically take questions from investors. So we'll come back to that during the academic portion. For our flow today, we'll go long, short, open, short, long. So we'll start with the market review around the world. Interesting day yesterday. Again, a lot of carnage right at the end of the day. But we'll see how today is shaping up, if it's going to continue down or if it's going to recover. We'll do some headline review. There's the 6 bank names that we're talking about, and then we're going to talk about some day trading opportunities. There should be some things moving short today we can take a look at, and then we will execute the market open and transition into Q&A. If you have any tech issues out there, Steve at otot now is where you need to go for that. And standard disclaimer, this is a financial education presentation, so you have to do your own due diligence before you take action on anything that you see here. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at where we've been for the past year. Again, this is the S&P 500 chart, commonly known as the SPY. So when you hear me talk about SPY, which is kind of the main way of talking about the market for everybody, S&P 500 is what you're seeing there. So there we've talked about the channel, the 2 lines that are still up there on the chart. Again, those are auto-populated AI kind of lines, but you're seeing that we are in an uptrend, but we're hanging at the bottom end of that channel. So it's going to be, we'll see if the market can maintain that channel as it continues to go up. You see the big red candlestick from yesterday, so it moved down quite a bit. And let's go ahead and switch over to the daily view, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So yeah, fell off a cliff, right? So if you look at the previous end of last week, kind of flattened to a positive Friday, and then Monday comes rolling along. We start life is good, and then it rolls over. So the trigger event basically was California Governor Gavin Newsom coming out and saying that he's going to start closing things again. Pretty much some things closed across the whole state, some things closed just in the 80% of the state that are the high population areas. But really the bigger question of what that begs is what's going to happen today. So earnings is one story for today, but the other story is what are the other governors going to do? My personal take is I don't think we're going to see any other governors move today because the other high risk states for COVID are predominantly Republican governors, predominantly following along President Trump's theme of trying to open instead of going into shutdown mode, which is not good. So, but we shall see. That's one thing we'll be paying attention for today. And then you see as the pre-market, things were actually pretty good, and they started to drop this morning. I haven't seen necessarily what headline brought that down, but we'll take a look here in a minute. Okay, let's go over to earnings. 2 big earnings out this morning, or excuse me, 3 big earnings out this morning already are JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup. JP Morgan and Citigroup beat earnings. Wells Fargo missed their earnings pretty hard, and Wells Fargo also cut their dividend from 51 cents down to 10 cents. That was kind of priced in. They had already alluded the fact that they were going to do that, but still, that's a big deal, and we could see the market or Wells Fargo continue to sell off. So today we're going to take a look at Wells Fargo short and the making some notes here, and JP Morgan long. JP Morgan's beat was pretty significant, so I'm going to put that in my notes for today. WFC short, and JPM long, based off earnings. Okay, let's go to the around the world review. We're going to bring up CNBC.com. You can see that the Dow barely hanging in the green, and everything else is in the red after being green across the board this morning. So let's take a look at Europe. So down pretty steady there, over 1%, and two of the big three over there, if you will, off to Asia. Also down across the board around 1%. Let's look at U.S. numbers yesterday. So yeah, the Dow, I didn't realize the Dow actually ended up in the green yesterday. I thought they were all three down big, but S&P down 1%, NASDAQ down 2%, and volatility up above 30. So kind of what you expect in a down market. All right, let's take a look at bonds. Red across the board, not much movement though. Over to oil. Didn't hold 40, so we've dropped now below kind of that magic number. So we'll see what happens in the oil market today. And then I go over to precious metals. And those were also down. So it's one of those, again, usually that moves opposite the market. But as you saw during COVID, when things start moving down, COVID can kind of bring everything down with it. All right, let's go back to the main screen. We'll refresh the futures and take a look at the headlines. Okay, there you had JP Morgan pictured, and of course there's the numbers. They are, again, my favorite. I call them best of breed. There's two ways to win there, not only just an investment bank, they're also kind of a retail bank as well, by putting those two companies together. And you'll hear me talk about horse and jockey analogy. When you buy a stock, the horse is the company and the jockey is the CEO. Well, Jamie Dimon's simply the best in the business. He's been in place for a long time, and he was also in place. He was the only CEO that's remaining that was in charge during the 2007 through 2009. So when you think of his experience, boy, he has seen it, and he's been in the chair for all of it. All right, let's see what else we have here. Yeah, Mark Benioff from Salesforce. I love the company. Love Mark Benioff. I think that for him saying that he thinks wearing masks can kill the coronavirus off. It says 3 weeks. It's not putting the number there, but the headline is 3 weeks. That's probably CEO squawking than actuality. Thought that was kind of a dumb comment on his part. More carnage in the airline space. Qantas. You can see the headline there. And then also, I think it was American came out today with kind of the last chance for early retirements before they put furloughs into effect. We'll see if we get to that. Okay, public versus private school, the reopening plan. Obviously, you know, the push from the president is to reopen. Even here in Texas, it's going to be slow. They've already said the first 3 weeks are going to be from home, and then they don't know after that. So again, the easy thing to do from a cautious perspective is to keep everybody home. But obviously there's challenges there. All right, Spotify, that's a name that we hear on occasion. Do have some of that out there, a double downgrade. So when you see a double downgrade, that means, you know, there's different levels from, you know, buy and, you know, basically took it from a buy to a sell instead of a buy to a hold, you know, hold to sell. That would be one downgrade. So a double downgrade is when they kind of skip the pattern there. I still like Spotify. It's a good stock. Okay. Tesla got another upgrade to go to 2,300. If you watched their move yesterday, you had a huge move up to 1,650, and then all of that sold off and more. So we'll see today. There's some Model Y news headlines out there. All right, Ford released their Bronco, and you know that's kind of their big plan to get more relevant. I think that's a terrible plan. That's an opinion. I don't think anybody below 50 is going to buy a Ford Bronco, and unfortunately, that's where your money resides. So, all right, let's take a look down to. We already talked about Wells Fargo slashing their dividend, not to zero. I thought that was interesting. I would have thought they would have just pulled the Band-Aid off and said, let's get rid of it and then re-implement it. But they're trying to hold on to a little bit there. Yeah, I see your comment about OJ's Bronco. That's what every single person, and I like that you brought that up. Every single person says the same thing. It's like, well, yeah, well, you know, it reminds everybody of OJ's Bronco, and I'm like, and that's the marketing theme, right? To go out and buy one. I'm gonna run down a California highway and be on TV. Yeah. But it is funny that everybody says the same thing there. It jogs that memory for all of us, it seems. Okay, there's Delta's negative headline. All right, let's continue on down. Citigroup on the rise. We talked about based off of earnings this morning. Keep on up, keep going. Okay, again, the testing. I actually saw a video. A friend of mine sent me a video of the actual nose swab, and it's pretty intense. You lay basically flat in a chair, and your head's almost horizontal, and they take this thing and kind of like screw it up into your brain. It's pretty legit. It was a professional football player that was getting the test, and he was not enjoying it, I guess I would say. Okay, there's the Model Y price cut for Tesla, 3,000. So we shall see what comes out of that. And okay, that is it for the headlines. We'll go over to Schwab and we'll talk about our bank stocks for this morning. All right, JP Morgan, I think they're best of breed. The stock really has not recovered, and that's, it'll get a nice move up today, I think. That should probably hold. They're up a couple percent pre-market. The banks have been challenged, and certainly, again, the stocks just have not recovered. But I think JP Morgan's best of breed. A lot of you hold that. Again, we've held that through everything, and I do expect it will eventually find its way higher again. So I would have no problem adding to the position here. Over at Bank of America, they were the first ones, if you remember, to get out of the gate as far as when the Paycheck Protection Program loans came out of the Secure Act, is that the government said just show up at your bank and your bank will be ready, and all the banks were like, whoa, stop, and we're not ready. Bank of America was the first one to be ready, and for each one of these loans that they chop out, they get a huge commission for doing it. I do have big plans for Bank of America, but it's certainly not been reflected in the stock. I do not consider them best of breed, but I do consider them the most undervalued and underappreciated. So I would like to see that name back up into the 30s before leaving that name. Okay, over to Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo has been the poster child for all things negative. It's been probably a year and a half since they had their negative headlines over making extra money on opening accounts for you, whether you knew about them or not, sort of thing. And, a lot of negativity there, and it has not helped. So, and they're trying to reinvent themselves as the, Stagecoach, the company you can trust, and people just aren't buying it. There's too many options out there. So almost unholdable for Wells. And I think today, it's going to not only sell off at the beginning, but continue to sell off, which is why it's the first short that I want to look at out there today. Goldman Sachs, a lot of people say that they are best of breed for investment banking, and it's hard to argue with that. Obviously, that's been reflected in their stock prices. It's bounced back pretty hard. Again, they're your more pure investment bank, so you're going to go there for your IPOs and all of your business-related items. So that has bounced back significantly. I would not buy Goldman Sachs here, nor do I particularly like Goldman Sachs, but you have to give them credit. As far as the bank stocks, they've bounced back really the most. You have Morgan Stanley, the bottom left there, also an investment bank, also has bounced back and stands to benefit from the increase in IPOs and things that are coming out. So again, not what I would consider best of breed, but their stock's doing pretty well. And then the bottom right, there's two ETFs that I use for exposure to banking. One of them is KBE, which is the one that's depicted, and it has not done much of anything. This entails the entire banking space. So we're talking about big banks today, and investment banks, and then retail banks, and then there's a whole slew of regional banks. So it's that whole bucket of the whole banking system. And I would say from the COVID perspective, I think banks are challenged, especially your regionals, because of the lack of foot traffic, or at least a reduction in foot traffic, if you will. Due to closing going appointment only for some banks, did that for a while. So we'll see. I think that it'll be a while before the banking industry as a whole comes back. So and going into the election, I'm not sure that's a net positive for them either. So really kind of staying either just holding the KBE or selling it even going into some of this stuff. Same thing with the XLF, which is the other ETF I use. Just been painful in the banking industry. Okay, let's go over to the short tabs and we'll take a look around, see what's in motion today. Let's start with Wells Fargo short. All right, closed at 25.41, down at 24 right now. I'm sure that number will pop up as far as what percent that is. Again, cutting the dividend, I guess probably it's one thing to miss earnings, but to cut the dividend, that's where you should see the downside motion. So I kind of like where it is at 24. It was there just a couple days ago, so I think it's got plenty of room to the downside to pick up some multiple R kind of trade, depending on where you put the stop. So there it is, the middle. It's a 5% down. So again, that's kind of hard of the envelope for what we're looking for, and a grossly negative headline. So really liking how Wells Fargo is setting up for today. And actually, let's put Wells Fargo on and getting ready on a different screen just to kind of take a look at the monitor the action. Yeah, it's already starting to sell off a little bit. It's down at 24 right now. So kind of like that setup. All right, let's take a look at, and I do like it. If you were going to go real money here, I like it enough to nibble pre-market. So again, if you were to do that, you would, if you're going to end up with your, I should do your R calculation and everything. If you were going to buy 350 shares or sell short, in this case, 350 shares, that's where I might pick up 100 now and then keep an eye on it and then add the rest when the market opens. Okay, let's take a look at JPM long. Again, I'm not as excited for a long play. Close at 97, now it's at 99.3. So again, probably 2 to 3% there is what we're looking at. 1.78, thank you. So yeah, not a huge move up, and I'm not sure there's going to be the excitement of buying JPM that there is going to be involved in the selling of a Wells Fargo. Okay, let's look over here. NEO's up top. NEO in the red. What's going on? So NEO's been kind of on fire there, but we don't really need to talk about it. We're not going to short it here. You could, but that's more, it's not a headline related thing. It's just that it got so extended to the upside that it almost has to come in. But again, not enough for thesis to go short. All right, the XLF we talked about this morning already, showing in the red overall. That's kind of interesting. It's barely in the red, but after you have two major banks put a nice earnings beat out, the XLF is already in the red pre-market. So we'll keep an eye on that. This Vaxart's been in play. It's been moving all over the place. I'm not going to touch it, but it is a name that certainly has a lot of motion in it. All right, let's go to the next tab. All right, Immune Bio, up over 100%, not familiar with them. Blueprint Medicines, not quite enough volume, but they're in the heart of the envelope there. Tesla up 4% this morning. Again, they got hit yesterday. I still think it's a short overall, so I would not take it long here. Domino's there at the bottom. They release earnings this week, so there's going to be a lot of movement in that name. Again, they're poised to benefit from the work from home, stay at home sort of thing. But I don't know. We shall see. All right, not much there. Let's go to the next tab. Look for some short names. Quillium. Not familiar with them, or WIMI. All right. Mohawk. Oh gosh, I read something about Mohawk this morning. Let's bring them up. See if I can refresh my memory. Attorney's office, no. Well, allegations of fabricated revenue and other charges. Goodness, that is not good. That is not the headline I read this morning about Mohawk. I love that, boy. I love it. You've seen what can happen, i.e., the Luckin story when somebody gets starts getting some allegations of fraud and things like that. So that's not good for them. So I kind of like it here. So it's at 76 going to, well, it's not much, not quite enough volume pre-market, but that's going to take off, I bet. So 76 down to 72. Let's back that chart out a little bit. Okay. So, oh gosh, boy, it's been on a hard sell-off, which I like as well. All right, because what this does when you see this chart, it's like who's buying it here? Is it falling enough to actually buy? Probably not, especially with allegations of fraud. So we'll look at Mohawk short. Really like the way that's setting up. Okay, spot we talked about. That's the double downgrade. I wouldn't touch that short. That's not enough to take the wind out of the sails of that name. All right, Alibaba. Alibaba had a nice move up yesterday, so I wouldn't worry about getting into that short. Same with Netflix, Alphabet. Wouldn't worry about any of that stuff. All right, or Google, Amazon. Well, that's quite the crew there on the short chart. There's some of the best names in the market. All right, that was just because of the 2% sell-off yesterday. So when you think of the NASDAQ yesterday, it's like, oh, come on. All-time highs, all-time highs, and then all of a sudden you have profit taking for one day, it goes down 2%. I know it looked ugly and it made the portfolio numbers look ugly, but that is not a big deal, in my opinion. Okay, on this tab, let's see what we can find. Shell on the move up. I think we're going to see a move up today. Some names got hammered yesterday. You had Luckin, Blink, Shell, Workhorse. All of those were down big. So I think now you're going to turn around and see the snapback today. So we'll keep an eye on Shell for long. I wouldn't trade it, but I think I do think it continues. See if there's a headline with Shell. SHLL. Oh, nothing. Okay, thank you. Ahead of me as always. I like it. Looking for some volume. Fitbit. Let's click on see what's going on in Fitbit. I'd kind of left Fitbit for dead. So, I mean, the Apple Watch can do all that and more, right? So who would need it? Fitbit buy. Okay, that maybe is the issue. I'm looking at the bottom. Alphabet's Google has offered not to use health data of fitness tracker company Fitbit to help it target its ads. Fail to see the good news in that. So, okay, I'm going to take a pass on not even really going to look at Fitbit there. All right, any other names with close volume? Not going to touch Harmony Gold. Hanes Brands. How could Hanes be popping up? Just look at them. There has to be a headline there. It's not jumping off the chart at me. That's just an interesting name to be popping. Okay, let's look at the last tab. Vaxart Long again. I just putting on my. I know it's been in play. Let's see what else. I'm not going to touch it, but it's something we'll check back on. Altimmune. Okay, let's see if there's a headline with Altimmune. Not familiar with them, but they certainly meet our numbers, and it's a beautiful setup there. Equity raise is basically the 115 million of stock. That's a pretty setup, and I like the entry point there. If you think the market's, I think the market could go either way. It's on a down, trending down from earlier. The Dow's now actually in the red. So if you think the market's going to flip back and go long here, I like the Altimmune long. I don't think that. I think the market's actually going to continue to sell off into the open. All right, let's check the decliners tab one more time. Again, wouldn't touch Spotify off the downgrade. We'll watch it though. Spotify short. Okay, we start. We can go over the TD Ameritrade screen and set things up. Let's put Mohawk in there for me. MHK. Yeah, surgeon underwear. It's kind of funny. All right, so it looks like Burner's looking at Mohawk. Short open at $1 stop out at 15. All right, with up in the 70s, yeah, you're going to need at least a dollar. That's right. So you got Mohawk in the middle there. I also put, let's put Wells Fargo. Yep, Wells Fargo's on the left there. I also like that as a short. And let's go Spotify on the right. Take a look at that. A big stop in Spotify. Yeah, I think Mohawk short's the way to go. So I'll take Mohawk, but I'll do a different trade. MHK short. I'll just take, let's see. I'll do a delayed entry. I'll go in at 2 minutes. In at 2 minutes. Out at 10 minutes. I'm still thinking about that stop. Well, that's a tough one. I like that dollar stop, but it might take more. I'll go a $2 stop. So just to give a little more room, I don't know, dollars may be the right answer there, but we shall see. And I'm taking a delayed entry thinking it might back up first before it rolls off, but we shall see. All right, so that's my trade going in there. All right, let's see if the Predator has a trade. Wells Fargo short 20-cent stop in at 2 out of 10. I'm in at 2 out of 10, and we got the Burner going in early at the open. I liked that. What are you saying there, Burner, with Wells Fargo? Is your trade actually Wells Fargo or MHK? Clarify that if you get a chance. All right, you can see the market off at the left, kind of a straight down move. So selling, we'll refresh the futures here. Have a minute and a half prior to the opening. Yeah. Ah, gotcha. I have that happen too. That's kind of funny. Well, we think I'm typing in one screen, it shows up on the other. Spotify for that trade, I do kind of look at. I don't like it from the. I think Spotify is too strong of a name, but you would need. It does show you would need a $3 stop if you were going to mess with Spotify there. If it opens at 246, you would have to cover it above the 249 range. So, we'll put Neo on there. I think that's all profit taking in Neo. I mean, gosh, it's been a straight up move like all day, every day. So we shall see. Let's do a quick Luckin check on should be trading. We have 45 seconds or so before we open. 334. It closed at 290, 280. So it'd be nice if it held that. I mean, that's a heck of that would actually stop it out, so it would stop trading. So that's not a name you'd want to mess with this morning. Okay, let's. I think Neo's probably more interesting to watch than Spotify, so we will watch that. And then as far as the drawings this morning, we'll come up with a little. Since two of us are in the Mohawk name, we'll come up with some sort of method to delineate whose lines are whom's. So we shall see. But Burner will be in there first again at the open. Here we go. All right, nice pop up in Mohawk there. So I think you're going to like that. So there's Burner's entry. We'll call it 69.9. And let's see, $1 stop if I remember correct. So up to 70, yep, there we go. 70.9, 70.89, I think is the exact number. So yeah, the volume's kind of rushing in. If you look at we don't talk about volume much, but if you look at the shares, that's basically 50,000. Neo striping down. Would have been a heck of a trade if you're taking it to open there. But yeah, when you look at the volume, you can see 50,000 in volume at the bottom of Mohawk. So again, it was a little light at volume ahead of time. The volume's now rushing in. You can see at the upper right, it's down 10, or it's down 9% now. So again, I like that trade as far as the sell-off. I do think we'll see a big stripe down out of it eventually. Market looks like it's striping down a little bit, so we shall see there. As far as let's zoom in on Neo a little bit, if you would. So it opened up at 13.26.7 or so. Boy, it's a 3-hour trade all day. I think Mohawk's going to do the same thing. I really do. All right, getting ready to start that second minute. So 69.34 is my entry into the trade for Mohawk. So 69.34, and maybe you short, or whatever you want to delineate whose is whose. Nope. So 69 for there we go. I like it. 69.34, and I used it at a $2 stop. So 71.34 is my stop up there. To draw that in. All right, looks like over in Wells Fargo, 23.82 was the entry with a 20-cent stop. So 23.82, so 24.02, that already stopped out on Wells Fargo there. It's not a bad entry, but a delayed entry maybe if you picked it up around this time. All right, you see a big move back up in Neo. That's kind of interesting there. So yeah, if you didn't take it right away, it's backing all the way up almost to where it opened. You have a nice move up in the market going on there, and then Mohawk's just kind of hanging out in that range there. Let's take a look at some other names. We use the right panel since we aren't really tracking Neo. Well, let's look at JP Morgan. Again, this has been a long. So yeah, not a big move at all when you look at percentage wise, but it is kind of holding there up at 1.8% on the day. The XLF, I was going to see if it continued down. It's pretty much in the same range there. So it's hard to get a move out of it, a big move out of an ETF. Let's look at Shell long, SHLL. So it up opened higher. There's getting a move down out of Mohawk there. So not much move higher in Shell. Luckin did open, gosh, nice and high there, up 16, 17%. It was down 22% yesterday. Phone was ringing a little bit. Same answer. I don't care what it is on Monday in July. I don't care what it is on Tuesday either. I care what it is, 6 months from now. And it's not going to be here, is my opinion. So we shall see. Ooh, pretty move down in Mohawk there, and Wells actually. All right, let's take a look at Vaxart. Yeah, well, that name is crazy. So it's another 10% move. So it opened in what, the 13.17. $1.50 move. Boy, all day. That's a 3-hour trade all day. That's crazy. ALT long. Didn't take, there we go. Again, this is the long, that's at Altimmune, which I really like the setup long, but the market forces are bringing it in. So still up 2.6% on there, 3% on the day now. All right, let's look at Spotify. Again, this would have been a short. I think it's too strong to go short. And yeah, there were people buying it right at the open. It's kind of a nice setup though, with those nice big long dojis sticking up at minute 2, 3, and 4. But I just don't see that striping down. I think it's too strong of a name. And then let's see, let's check back on NEO. That's crazy. Huge move down and then a huge move back up. That's got to be getting close to hitting some stop kind of numbers on the way that much is moving. Let's check on some other names. BLNK. Again, this was down huge yesterday. Okay, it's down again today. I like it below 7. I really like it below 6. So take a look at that. Again, it's the EV power battery pack. Sure, we can check on, yeah, well, Wells Fargo just finally went. So if you had entered at 3-minute point there, Predator, that's going to be a 3-hour trade all day from the 24 down to 23.40. So there's your 60-cent move. So again, if you're watching that real time, yeah, I think it's legitimate that you'd probably let it chill out there. The first 2 or 3 minutes were kind of ugly as far as the big move. Doesn't know what it's going to do. So if you're patient on that, it'd been a good entry there. In Mohawk, things are kind of dying down as far as volume. I still wouldn't worry though. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of buyers here. So I still think it's going to turn around and sell off some. It is down 10% already. So we shall see. All right, Blink backing up. The other name I want to look at is LCA. Okay, LCA on the move back higher. Again, this is the IPO of the other gambling, sports gambling stock that's going to IPO out from LCA into a different name. So it's good to see that's getting bought a little bit today. All right, let's go back to Luckin. Well, if there's people out there shorting Luckin, that's a perfect entry for them. But I don't know. I still think it's going to march back higher, but we'll keep an eye on it. All right, let's go over to the big screen and we'll talk about, since Mohawk's not really moving a whole lot, talk about what's going up. So Luckin at the top, Tesla, Workhorse, another name we could take a look at. But yeah, they're on the way back up. Shop is up while Spot is down. FireEye up there in the green. That's always good to see. Cybersecurity name. Not a whole lot of names in the green though. So really overall, when you look at the market, the market's barely down, but it's down across the board. Dow's down 0.25%, NASDAQ's down 0.1%, and then SPY's down 0.33%. All right, let's take a look at the losers. Got Delta, NEO, Bank of America getting hit. Netflix down. Nikola. Not a lot of huge movers down, so kind of a sideways market without a lot of motion there. All right, let's go back to our trades. Put a Workhorse off to the right. All right, up 5% or so. And back the chart out a little bit if you would. There you go. So see the big move up in Workhorse at the end of the day yesterday. So kind of swimming upstream against the market. Again, high hopes for this name. We shall see. If they do get that contract to replace all the U.S. Postal Service's trucks, then obviously then Workhorse is going to, I think it will scream higher if that's the case. So this is one of these where you can put a little bit of money in it. You don't want to put a whole lot in it in case it doesn't actually happen. But if they get it, that's going to be good news. All right, into the 10th minute on Mohawk. Let's see. I think I am out at 10. So when this minute closes, we will take a look. And then we got Burner, I believe, into 15 minutes. All right, so it looks like it's holding the stops easy. So with the different stops that we have there, you'll see that pretty much no matter where this goes, Burner with a smaller stop, his stop is basically half mine. So he will, in turn, if the trade's in the green, be double my R no matter what because of the different stop sizes. So that's kind of a good way, since we're both trading the same name, to kind of see the difference there. So you benefit greatly by squeezing the stop down, but obviously the danger there is you get flipped out of the stop. So if you look at Wells Fargo, it had you gone with like a 30-cent stop. I thought 20 was the right answer, so I'm not picking apart your trade. I thought the trade was fine, it just didn't work. And in Wells Fargo, you see with the 30-cent stop, now it holds, and you get the big move down from there. So they're really kind of unknowables, but certainly on the work or on the Mohawk chart there, you can see that Burner's going to have double mine no matter what, as long as the trade's in the green. All right, so that just closed out. So at the 69. So I'm in the green there as far as my trade. So it's closed out, but obviously Burner's going to have a higher R than mine. So we shall see, unless it backs up significantly and goes red, but I don't expect it to do that. All right, let's take a look at Nicola on the right there, NKLA. So again, this is a name that's been beat up pretty significantly from its run up to that 100% in a day all the way down. And it's even down on the day, even though that looks like it's up from the open, it's still down 1% on the day. All right, let's put Luckin back in there. We'll watch Luckin while I start talking about conference calls. All right, so when you think of conference calls, and here's why I bring this up. So we talked about we're starting earnings season. So for earnings season, you have the bottom line, or excuse me, top line revenue number, you have a bottom line profit number, and then you have the forward guidance. So those numbers come out. So in this situation, we'll pick a JP Morgan. So those numbers, obviously, before earnings, the company goes into a quiet period. I think it's 2 weeks where they can't say anything about anything. They can't. The CEO can't go on TV. Any of that stuff. It's a complete blackout period. And then when they release the earnings number, it's an automatic release. So there's a press release that does a short snippet of here were our expectations. We either beat or not. And of course, they have to disclose whether they do GAAP earnings or non-GAAP. Almost everybody does GAAP except for Tesla. They say whatever they want, and stock goes higher. Yay! So they release these numbers, and the market moves off of those numbers. Now, the conference call is generally at least an hour later, if not like 3 hours later. So some of them that released this morning have their conference calls already, so they can get it out of the way, right? So all the emotion, there's the earnings. Hey, let's get on Zoom or whatever, get on the call and answer questions. Some of them have it much later in the day, like 3 hours later, so they can really let things digest, see how the market's handling their stock, and then set up and do it a little bit later. So, excuse me. So that's how those work. And a lot of times, I remember there was a Facebook back in 2013, not long after the IPO, and one of you may remember this significantly. We're sitting there watching earnings, and it was a post-market earnings. And I'd been on Facebook since the teens, and it was basically a double. It was up at 33, and the earnings came out, and there was an earnings miss on Facebook. And I remember selling basically it all, moving out of the name, taking the double at 33. And then as I'm listening to Zuckerberg talk, I'm hearing all kinds of stuff I'd not ever heard Facebook saying before, and about these huge plans and how they're going to do this, and they were going to bring the internet to places that don't have the internet. Crazy long range vision plans, and ended up buying back into the stock at 34. So I look kind of dumb because I sold off at 33 but bought it at 34. I don't look so dumb now that it's up in mid 200s. but basically bought back in and held it pretty much all the way into the privacy issues, 5 years later. So again, seeing the numbers is one thing, but hearing the CEO now explain the numbers and talk about what they're trying to do in the future, so that can move the stock again. So when you think earnings, the earnings release moves the stock, and then generally once the CEO starts talking, you move the stock. So in listening to an earnings call, a conference call, what you will have generally is the CEO will welcome everybody. Then we'll turn around and have the CFO deliver the actual financials, which again are already out on the street. So it's more of just a reading, if you will. And yeah, exactly. So the CFO reads it, and then they go to analyst questions. And then the questions, this is where, Elon Musk gets in trouble every now and then, because he's pretty straightforward during his conference call. So if you ask a stupid question, he'll tell you that's a stupid question. Unlike most people would just, dance a little bit and speak around it. But yeah, so you get to mostly the CEO sitting there dodging questions for the next hour. And of course, each of the analysts have to say, it's so-and-so from Morgan Stanley. And my question is, it's kind of like the presidential question sort of thing. But I used to listen to those when I had a lot more time on my hand. Now I listen there. Once they have the conference call, about 20 minutes after the conference call, the transcript comes out, and it's easier to kind of just flip through the transcript. So everybody's different. So I don't listen to them anymore. Okay, so it looks like 15-minute closed up at 68.59. So for burner, that's well over a 1 hour trade. So nice shot there. You get another free month in the room. Put it on your tab. I like it. Okay, Luckin's making a march back higher. I like it. Let's go to the Investopedia, and we go through and see what Investopedia says about the conference call and see what I missed. Okay. Yeah, company financials, key performance indicator. That's true. Hey, they're using Facebook as the example. So yeah, after comments from management, the meeting's opened up for questions. All of these you can listen real time online. If you go to, say it's Facebook, you would go to facebook.com, go to investor relations or investor materials, and then press release, which generally is the first thing because they have press releases a lot, and it'll be the conference call links. Just click on that, you can listen to your computer. All right, let's scroll up. So yeah, they'll talk about their metrics and then go through the different, what's important to the CEO, what they're measuring going forward quarters, stuff like that. So that's why you see Facebook's monthly active users. We talked about RevPAR for hotels, that sort of thing. And of course, the first 3 minutes of any conference call is like this huge disclaimer. It's a disclaimer on steroids, if you will. Okay, so not much more than I had talked about there as far as the conference call. Let me look through the chat, see if I missed anything. Yeah, I don't know. Predator, I see your first comment there. I missed it earlier. Carnage or buying opportunity. My gut feel is that it will be a buying opportunity because I do not think any of the other governors are going to shut down like California just did. And it's kind of funny. I felt like taking to Twitter and saying that, as if Californians didn't need one more reason to move to Texas, but it's like, we're here, we're not shutting down. Obviously, Texas is making some moves towards being responsible, but we're certainly not shutting anything down. And there's been, and the reason I use that example, California and Texas, is because there has been a significant movement of, if you will, rich people from California to Texas just based on taxes. So when you see Governor Newsom's big plan of let's shut down, so you're getting it's just tough. You're shutting everything down and then, ridiculously high taxes. So it's a beautiful area. So I guess that's how they get away with it. Yeah, 16% off of their lunchtime price. Yeah, yeah, they're up to around 1540 right now. Kind of crazy. Dow's in the green if you haven't seen that. Yeah, Fitbit is being bought by somebody, but I don't know. I think Apple Watch is, of course, I'm probably biased there too. Apple Watch is miles ahead of where Fitbit is, in my opinion. Let's check back on Neo and see what Neo's doing in the upper right-hand screen there. All over the place. So, all right. Well, with that, thanks again. Good job, Burner, this morning, and I will see you guys back tomorrow. Have a good one.